Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Now, I mentioned last week sort of an introduction for the PO Guidelines for Living a Happy Life. And this week I'm going to talk about Chapter 1, which is, I will live paying careful attention, putting Makoto into all I say and do. Now, we use that word Makoto a lot in PL, and it's very significant because people may not recognize it right away, but I think if I explain it, you probably will. Makoto is when you put everything into doing something, and things sort of flow well. You've probably all had that experience at some time, and I try to do it as much as I can. It's not always continuous, but more continuous than it used to be. Makoto is putting your heart and sincerity into whatever you do. And the thing is, you seem to be carried along when you're doing that. If you put everything into what you're doing, you have a good feeling about things and things flow smoothly. And one thing seems to happen after another. And things coincidentally just seem to come together. That's when you're doing your full Makoto. Now, most of us can do at least part of our Makoto, doing our best effort. With the technological society we have today, it's so easy for people to do so little and still get by. But that's not doing our Makoto, because we're here to do our best, to express ourselves. And we're not expressing ourselves unless we do our best at all times. And so Makoto is a word, we don't have a word like it in English that explains it, but sincerity and putting your heart into things, both those things combined is basically the best way to express it. But I think Makoto captures it very nicely. And that's a slightly different twist than the word itself in Japanese, but it's a twist that we've given it in PL. So if we do things with Makoto, we feel proud that we're doing it and we're happy. And it was one thing like Reverend Ono told me when I was working in public works in Canada and just starting out in the environmental field. It was very boring, and I had to deal with traditional engineers and architects who didn't want things changed. If the bridges stood up, you don't need environmental assessments. And as long as the roads and everything work, why do you need environmental assessments? So it was a hard struggle at the beginning, and it was very boring because it was hard to get people together to understand these things. It did eventually come together. And he said, well, Reverend Ono told me, just do what you have to do. And even at that time, I was using a typing tool. He said, well, type your own things if you find you've got spare time. So I did. It was only a couple of years later the computer came in. So I was prepared. And things were much better when I put myself into it. And you learn to enjoy things. No matter how mundane it is, you can enjoy them and you put your heart into doing them. So that's what Makoto's about. Now there's so many things that block us from having full Makoto in our lives. And those things are like worry, anger, having a hasty state of mind. Those sort of things prevent us from having our full Makoto. So if we can learn how to overcome those things, and those are the things we teach people in PL and help people give guidance on, and if you do appropriate prayers and things, you could help to solve a lot of these problems. Now, we're not trying to get rid of human emotions, because human beings are emotional animals. We all are. So it's not suppressing it. The Confucians, and a lot of the Japanese still follow the Confucian tradition, is to try and suppress it. If you're angry with it, you should suppress it. But the thing is, we can't. So the thing is, we try to reach a normal level. At a normal level, we may not understand if we have that problem with worry or anger, whatever it is, but others around us certainly do. And with consultation, we can help to solve these things and have a more normal life and not let them interfere, because they do interfere when we're trying to do our best. So Makoto is very important in PL. And the term we use when we have problems because of worry, anger, or stubbornness, or whatever it happens to be, is Mishirases. And that's another term that I like in PL because it lumps a lot of things together. It's like sickness, accidents, misfortune. We call all of these things Mishirases. And because of we control most of what happens in our lives by what's between the ears. This is what causes many of these things to happen to us. So if we can change that, and the thing is too, we don't have a mirror on ourselves all the time, so we can't see ourselves, but others do. And it's very interesting too if you have a person who says, well, I'm not stubborn. But you ask a member of their family, oh yes, he's very stubborn. You wouldn't believe how stubborn he is. So others know, but we don't know ourselves. And that's because we're not watching ourselves all the time. But so these things are there, and they can be improved and helped through PO so people can lead more enjoyable lives. That's why we exist, to help people lead more enjoyable lives and to control these things and experience the full Makoto, which is a great feeling when things just flow along and things just coincidentally happen and things really come together well in life. It's a nice feeling. So at any rate, that is the first of the 21 PO guidelines, and it's a very important one. Okay, thank you.